Just put this here.
You should be in the middle. You guys are the star. There you go. Morning.
And is everybody good with the mic check? Are we good? Check, 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 check. Thumbs up. Everybody good? Check. Check with the mic.
Who is as we go, we introducing each other? Or?
Yes.
So I'm going to introduce Roger.
All right. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Maria Durant. I'm the Media Relations Director here at the Franklin County Sheriff's Office. I want to thank all of you for attending our news conference here this afternoon. Today, we're here to give you insight into the cold case of Amy Hooper. This case has remained a priority in the office for several years, and there are so many people to thank for not giving up, as you can see from behind me. It's now my honor to introduce our sheriff, Sheriff Dallas Baldwin, to kick things off.
Well, good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for attending the news conference. I'd like to say that we cannot forget the victims of terrible crimes like Amy Hooper's and the families and friends who are left behind to suffer through the years. No one deserves to go through that. No one. Thank God we have men and women who will not give up seeking justice through hard work and dedication. And I am very blessed to have people like that working in the sheriff's office. It takes incredible patience, persistence to solve cold cases. Sometimes years waiting for just the right set of circumstances or events to unfold. To keep digging, pushing, and not willing to ever give up. A successful outcome would not be possible without the right relationships and working with other agencies, both locally and nationally. This case is an excellent example of how sharing resources and information among agencies solves crimes. Advances in familial DNA through scientific research played a vital role in solving this case, but not all cases are solved by modern scientific technology. Sometimes just good old-fashioned police work is what it takes. Surveillance, pulling trash, going through records page by page, and conducting surveillance and interviews, interrogations is what it takes to sometimes solve a crime. A special thank you to the FBI, the Attorney General's Office, Attorney General Dave Yost, BCI, the Thurston County Sheriff's Office in Washington, Thurston County Prosecutor's Office in Washington, Lacey Police Department in Washington, and the Franklin County Prosecutor's Office for all working together on this case. Without their partnership and hard work, this crime would not have been solved. Our hearts do go out to the family and friends of Amy Hooper for having to suffer her loss through all these years. Hopefully today you find some kind of relief and peace. A huge thank you to Chief Rick Minard and his staff for the Franklin County Sheriff's Office for their hard work, patience, and persistence in working on this case. And at this time, I would like to introduce Chief Deputy Rick Minard to come and make a few comments.
Thank you, Sheriff. I want to start off by thanking you guys for being here. As I walked in here, I saw this room was packed, and appropriately it should be. This case has been a challenge for us and the community for a long while, and I'm so glad that the media is covering this as they should. I want to thank the sheriff for his confidence in not just me. It's the division. It's the people that you see up here that have put this together. We've sent investigators literally across the country over the years, tracking down leads all the way to the West Coast, not just Washington, but California and some other places, tracking down leads. And that wouldn't be possible without having a sheriff that supports you and what you're trying to accomplish. And so I want to thank you, Sheriff, for giving us that. Today I stand here before you. It's a long overdue announcement. 33 years, Sunday, 33 years. We finally made an arrest in this cold case of Amy Hooper, a tragedy that obviously shook the community back in November of 1992. Justice was delayed, but justice was not denied. And today proves that. Amy Hooper was only 20. I didn't know her, but from the accounts of the folks that did know her, they spoke highly of her. She was a vibrant soul with dreams and a loving family, but a future that was ripped away by violence. And for decades, her case sat unsolved. The lingering pain of her loved ones and the challenge for us who were tasked with delivering answers. But now the wait's over. Thanks to the relentless grit of our detectives and our colleagues from BCI, FBI, colleagues in Olympia, Washington, and so many others. I'm sure there's some that we haven't mentioned here. And the breakthrough in forensic science, and you'll hear a little bit about that. But that's what's brought this killer to light. This arrest didn't just happen by chance. It's the fruit, as the sheriff mentioned, of countless hours of digging through old evidence, chasing faint leads, and harnessing D&I technology that did not exist in 1992. DNA came long after that. Time may fade memories, but it doesn't erase the evidence, and that evidence is what's led us here today. Bruce Daniels is in custody back here in Franklin County to face murder charges for the death of Amy Hooper. It's a step forward, but the journey isn't over. This case will end up in a courtroom, and hopefully my prayer is that justice is finally served. To Amy's family, I offer this. As a father, a brother, a son myself, I can't imagine what you've gone through. Your endurance and your trust have carried us to where we are today. We can't erase your loss, but we hope that today brings a measure of closure. To the public, I hope that the news of this case, and again, thank you guys for covering it, sheds some light of what happened back on that horrible day back in 1992. And we're still interested to hear from anybody who might have information. If you know anything about this case, I don't care how small that or insignificant that your information may seem, we want to hear about it. This case sends a clear message that we're never going to give up. No matter how many years pass, we'll pursue the truth. Amy Hooper's story didn't end in 1992. It lives on. And today, we honor her with action, not just words. Cold cases aren't forgotten. They're just waiting for their day. And today is Amy's day. Thank you. I'd like to introduce my good friend, Roger Davis from BCI. I can't thank him and his staff enough. We wouldn't be standing here today if it weren't for them. And yeah, so Roger, thank you, sir.
Good afternoon. I just want to piggyback on what Chief Minard said. I want to thank Sheriff Baldwin. I want to thank Attorney General Dave Yost, as well as our partnerships with the FBI. I also want to thank this dedicated team that you see around us. It was a collaborative effort of investigators, analysts, and people who took a vested interest to never give up, to look at all the forensic avenues as well as data-driven aspects of this case. But more importantly, today is about Amy. Today is about Amy's family, Amy's friends, Amy's loved ones. Most of us would never understand what it's like to wake up every day with the pain and suffering and the unknown for almost, for over 3 decades, 33 years. So as much and as proud as I am of everyone involved in this case, every one of them will say the same thing. Today's about Amy. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Sandy Green, who is Amy's sister. Sorry, you're right.
Hi, my name is Sandy Green, and I am Amy's sister. I'm speaking on behalf of the family today. We would like to start by thanking the Franklin County Sheriff's Office, especially Detective Clark, and the Ohio BCI and their entire forensic team. 33 years ago, on March 9th, a beautiful woman was taken from this world. Amy Hooper was loving, kind, with an infectious laugh that I will never forget. Amy has missed so many incredible, important events in our lives. We all missed out on what Amy was going to accomplish in life. 20 years ago, Detective Clark called me in Colorado to let me know that he was the new cold case detective on her case, and he felt confident that Amy's case could be solved. I'm so thankful that he always stayed in contact with me and never gave up on my sister's case. He is our hero. We had all but given up that this horrific murder would be solved and that we would receive justice for Amy. And now here we are, seeking justice and finding closure. Our family is grateful to all of you for showing up and supporting our family.
We are going to open it up to Q&A. So if you have a question, also after the press conference, you are able to do one-on-ones with anyone who is available. So if you have a question, let me know and we'll get Lacey.
What was the key piece of evidence or the tipping point in this case that when you guys finally were like, yes, we can make an arrest?
Of course they do it to me. As I mentioned, DNA did not exist back in, at least the technology did not exist the way we see it today. And so the DNA obviously is the key piece of this. It was, quite frankly, it was the missing link for all of these years. We had a profile from 1992, but that profile was unidentified. And so my colleagues here can talk about some of the databases that DNA profiles are kept in. But the DNA profile of Bruce Daniels was not in that database, and so a match could not be made. Over a number of years, it takes time to build out, these familial DNA cases to identify family lineage. But then there's target testing that takes place, and what that looks like is going out and collecting DNA samples, sometimes covertly. The sheriff mentioned trash pulls and things like that. There's a whole bunch of things that we did over the years. You can only imagine everything we did for the last 33 years, or at least 20, since this guy was involved in it. And so we finally got the profile identified. And so that was the break in the case that we were missing for all of these years. That break took us to the West Coast a couple different times. I don't know, three or four times took us to the West Coast. And so that culminated in presenting the case to the prosecutor's office here in Franklin County, who would assume the eventual prosecution of that. And I can't say enough about them and their willingness to take on this case. These aren't easy, but they sort of gave us the green light, if you will. And so here we are. Bruce Daniels in jail where he belongs, and hopefully in due time, he'll be where he belongs, and that's in prison. So I don't know if I answered your question, but.
Were you guys able to find a motivation, figure out why?
It's difficult to have a motivation after 30 some years. To answer your question, no, that's part of the unanswered part of that hopefully will come out in court. This will all bear itself out there. What motivates somebody to brutally murder a young woman like her that had so much life and so much to offer, a beautiful young girl? I have no idea what kind of monster that takes to do that. And so, no, I don't know what would motivate him or excuse that kind of behavior. So no, but hopefully we'll know more answers.
Yeah, did they know each other? Was there a acquaintance?
Those are still things that we're sorting out. What the relationship was, I don't want to comment on that now. I don't want to litigate the case here from a podium. Those will be facts that'll bear out in the trial. So I don't want to get into some of those details, but that'll be a key piece of the case moving forward.
And where was Daniels over these 33 years? Was he always in Washington State? Had been moving around? What was he doing? Was he working when he was charged?
He was in Washington, Tumwater, Washington. So for those who are not familiar with that, it's a suburb of the Olympia area. That's where he was when he was taken into custody. But to answer your question, over the last 30 years, he lived in Columbus. He lived in Cincinnati. He was down in the state of Georgia. We know that for a little bit. And then obviously we found him in Washington State. And so, yeah, he moved around. That's what's hard about these cases is people move on, and trying to track those people down. Again, as I started this out, I got to give big thanks to Sheriff Baldwin. That's not an easy decision when your chief comes to you and says, "Hey, I want to spend a significant amount of money to send investigators out to the West Coast," and he's like, "Is this going to is this going to lead to an arrest?" I don't know, boss. I don't know, but it's a lead that I feel like we gotta track down. And the trust that he gives to me and my division and these great people up here, like I can't speak highly enough about that. Not every boss would do that. And so, yeah, we've been tracking leads down for a number of years, but it's only because of his leadership.
To follow up on Steve's question, do you know exactly how many years you've been living in Washington State?
Chuck, 2 or 3? 3.5. Yep.
Sandy, if I can ask you, what went through your mind when you finally heard, yes, we have enough to make that arrest? If you
Oh.
don't mind stepping up to the podium.
Yeah, definitely joy. I dealt with Amy's death 33 years ago. And for me, just to have this possibility of solving this case was amazing. So when they said they were taking it and working with it with the DNA, I thought that was going to be amazing. So yeah, it's definitely joy to see this finally solved.
Sandy, can you describe the moment that you got that call?
Oh, yeah, I definitely. So I was at work and Detective Clark called and I had 2 employees around me and all they said is I just sat down on the floor and just started crying. Of course, tears of joy because I was very happy that we finally had it. We had a couple before that were close and then those were kind of sad, but this was definitely beyond excitement and yeah, I'm just so happy that they got to finally solve this case.
Chuck, what did it mean for you to be able to make that phone call?
I knew it was going to be quiet eventually. It's hard to describe. Emotional. It's probably weird to see that I'm probably the most emotional person up here. Myself, but my guys included, all these guys help me. I wouldn't be up here if it wasn't for these guys. To make that phone call, to be constantly in contact with Sandy, so many letdowns that I had to tell her, not yet. She'd call me, "Hey Chuck, you got anything yet?" Sorry, no. I had to tell her no so many times. It was just disheartening, but I finally got to make that call and whew, it was something.
Several of you have used the phrase "not giving up" throughout these years. Can you describe what it's been like? You kind of said a little bit having to give those calls, but just constantly thinking about this and constantly having that motivation to solve this case.
There's only so many cold case detectives because quite honestly it will consume you. So there's only so many detectives that can really handle it. And these guys up here with me are true cold case detectives that were with me every step of the way. I like to, in the police community, they refer to police officers as sheepdogs because we protect the herd. I kind of liken myself to part sheepdog, part pit bull, part hound dog because I don't give up. I don't give up. And when I latch on something, I go for it. But all these great guys behind me were right there with me 100% of the way. So,
And share with
Can,
us.
can I, excuse me, Steve, can I add something?
Sure.
He obviously, he's getting some credit up here, the credit he deserves. But let me give you a little background, okay? Chuck worked here. This is his second go around, okay? This guy had a long history or long career here at the sheriff's office. I had the pleasure of working with him as a fellow homicide detective. I was a supervisor. Okay. No one was more passionate than Chuck on these cases, but Chuck had to retire. There's changes with the retirement system and all that, and Chuck had to retire. And I don't know how long it took him, probably about 5 minutes. He discovered that I retired too soon. And so he came back, and he went back through the academy with all his young cadets and everything to get back in here to do this job again. He had to start at the bottom of the totem pole. But I always knew his passion, and I got an opportunity to bring him back to my division in an administrative assignment. It means handpicked by the chief. Okay. And I handpicked him, not for cold case. I'll confess, it wasn't for cold case, but it was something else. But once he got back into my division so that I could control what cases he could work on, I unleashed him again on cold cases because I knew that was his passion. I knew that's where you were going to get the most out of him. And since he came back, like, get out of his way. He's been relentless, and that's what brought us here today. It's his dedication. It's his devotion. A lot of stars up here. Nobody is on the level that this guy is in terms of commitment. And so, yeah, he deserves all the credit. Thanks.
So I was going to ask you folks about the call, and when you did the call, what was it like for you the moment you got the forensics evidence, the moment you got everything back that pointed to a guy and you knew and realized you were about to make an arrest? What was that moment like for you?
Took my breath away, honestly, for a few seconds. Got the call from BCI, and I just went, finally, because as Chief Minor said, several people were checked, several nights, early mornings were things were conducted where we got some samples, collections, surveillance for hours and days and hours and days. But I got that call from them. It was just finally, because me getting that call meant that I could call Sandy, call the family, and say, we got him.
So what did you get, a cigarette butt or something?
Rather not say it this time. Yeah, probably. That'll come out later.
Can I ask what the significance was of the necklace? Have we been able to find that out yet?
Not at this time. No, still working on a few things. So.
All right. Thank you, Chuck. Thank you all. If anybody does want to do any one-on-ones with anyone, please let me know who, and we'll see if they're available. Thank you.
Thank you. That's it?